Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into the source material of a talent whose career portfolio is, well, it's so varied and complex, it really challenges the whole idea of a single-track professional life. Today, we are profiling Abbie Cornish.
It really is quite the masterclass in versatility, and our sources back this up. She is much more than just the sum of her Hollywood parts.
Hmm.
When you actually look at her timeline, yeah, you see the blockbuster actress, the celebrated indie darling, the star of Jack Ryan.
Right.
But what's really fascinating here, I think, is how that career exists almost in perfect parallel with this serious, critically respected professional life as a hip-hop artist.
Yes.
Singer, songwriter, rapper, operating under the name MC Dusk.
Yeah, that duality, that's really the core of our deep dive today. Our mission is basically to take all these different sources, film reviews, music analysis, biographical notes, activist profiles, and try to reveal how she pulls it off. Not just getting noticed, but getting critical acclaim and like real longevity in multiple totally different creative fields. I mean, how do you go from starring opposite Robert De Niro one day to, supporting the legendary rapper Nas on tour the next? It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. We're essentially tracing the journey of a true multi-hyphenate professional.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Those formative years on a working farm back in New South Wales, tracking her rise through, well, the fiercely competitive Australian awards scene.
Right.
Securing her artistic credibility really early on, and then, strategically navigating the whole Hollywood landscape while at the same time fostering this decade-spanning career in Australian hip-hop.
So just to set the frame for you, our listener, with the sort of core data. Abbie Cornish was born on August 7th, 1982, in Lochinvar, New South Wales. At the time we're doing this deep dive, she's 43 years old. Mm-hmm. And the key nugget here, the really interesting bit, is that there are these two identities operating at the same time. Abbie Cornish, the actress, and Dusk, the music professional. That kind of compartmentalization, the ability to switch mindsets, that's what we really need to analyze.
Yeah, exactly. And to really understand the commitment required for, well, this level of duality, we have to look closely at the foundation. Yeah. Because this wasn't your standard trajectory for becoming an international star. Abbie Cornish, she was the second of 5 children born to Shelley and Barry Cornish.
Right.
And she spent her early years on a pretty substantial piece of land, a 70-hectare or, 170-acre family farm.
Wow, a 170-acre farm in rural New South Wales. I mean, that kind of environment, it probably instills a certain kind of work ethic, right? And maybe a deep connection to the land, practical realities.
Absolutely.
She lived there during her formative years before the family eventually moved to Newcastle. And it's also important context, I think, that the arts were kind of already there in the family DNA. Her sister, Isabel Cornish, she also became an actress.
That's right. And if we look at the source material about her early influences, it really suggests a sort of predisposition toward artistic complexity. Even as a teenager, apparently, she developed this keen fascination with independent and foreign films.
Interesting. So not just the big Hollywood stuff.
Exactly. It wasn't about the biggest Hollywood releases. It suggests, an early appetite for narrative nuance, for directorial vision. And this preference, well, it explains perfectly why her career later on balances those big studio tentpoles with the really demanding auteur-driven projects.
Okay, so that initial foundation then led to her first steps into the spotlight, which actually started not in a theater, but in a magazine.
Yeah, a glossy magazine. She was just 13 when she reached the finals of a major Australian publications competition, the Dolly Magazine competition. That modeling start probably gave her a little taste of the professional side of being in front of the camera, but acting pretty quickly took over.
And the transition was fast, wasn't it?
Very rapid, yeah, and decisive. By 1997, so just 2 years after that modeling competition, she landed an early, pretty significant television role. She played Simone Summers in the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's police drama, Wildside.
Okay.
Wildside.
And that role wasn't just like a placeholder job. It was a real launch pad for her. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think, regarding that early professional validation. That role in Wildside, it directly led to her winning the Australian Film Institute Award, the AFI, Young Actors Award in 1999. Now, the AFI, for listeners who might not know, it's basically Australia's equivalent of the Academy Award, right? It's the highest national honor.
Exactly.
So winning a major peer-recognized award like that at age 17, that signals immediate, high-level respect from the industry right out of the gate.
Totally. Winning that award meant she sort of bypassed the typical slow climb and was instantly taken seriously. And this led immediately to her first feature film role in 2000. She played Mickey Norris in the Australian neo-noir mystery, The Monkey's Mask.
The Monkey's Mask. Okay. It was a genre picture, but a distinctive one, apparently.
Yeah, and the early television work also continued to diversify her portfolio, showing she was willing to embrace, nuanced, less conventional roles. We see some minor appearances, like his episode of Water Rats in 2000. And then, a pretty substantial main role in the children's adventure series Outriders. She played Reggie McDowell for 26 episodes in 2001, so that proves some early professional stamina there.
26 episodes. Yeah, that's a commitment.
It is, but I think the more telling piece of early work is maybe it's a 2001 series Life Support. She was cast as Penne in the first season. The sources describe it as like a satirical, dark, often absurd look at Australian life, all framed through this mock television lifestyle program.
Okay, so definitely not standard teen drama.
Not at all. She wasn't just doing standard teen soap. She was engaging in some pretty sophisticated comedic and dramatic satire early on. And this really demonstrates, I think, a willingness to choose challenging material over just easy visibility, a pattern that kind of defines her entire career, really.
So, okay, we have the roots on the farm, this early interest in foreign films, and then bam, rapid validation through the highest national award system. All of this really sets the stage for the kind of strategic choices she makes next, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It lays all the groundwork. So the period between, say, 2004 and 2006, this is really the pivotal moment where she transitions from being just a promising young Australian actress to, an established, critically acclaimed A-lister at home. She secures that credibility that she'll later leverage globally.
Right. And that peak Australian recognition, it seems like it's almost defined by one movie. Somersault in 2004, where she played the central character, Heidi. This performance was apparently a huge deal within the Australian film industry.
Phenomenon is probably the right word, yeah. She didn't just win an award, she basically swept the national scene. For her role in Somersault, she got the Australian Film Institute Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role. That's her second AFI prize, by the way, which really solidifies her status.
Wow, second one already.
Yeah, but she also won Best Actress from the Film Critics Circle of Australia, the FCCA, and the Inside Film Awards.
Okay, hold on. That's like a trifecta of the highest national honors. Winning the AFI, the FCCA, and the IF awards. That means pretty much every major judging body in the country recognized that role as the best performance of the year.
Exactly.
That's a defining career moment before she even really looked overseas,
Totally defined. And that recognition immediately translated internationally, too. She won the Best Breakthrough Performance Award at the 2005 Miami International Film Festival for that same role. So the critical buzz was, well, it was deafening. It indicated this wasn't just a powerful domestic performance, but one that really resonated globally.
It's also worth noting, looking at the timeline, 2004 was just a year of intense, high-quality output for her. She also shared the screen with Hugo Weaving in that award-winning short film, Everything Goes.
Right.
She was clearly prioritizing quality scripts and high-caliber collaborators, even in smaller projects.
And that trend just continued with the really powerful 2006 drama Candy, where she starred opposite the late Heath Ledger.
Oh, right, Candy. Powerful film.
Yeah, it dealt with very heavy, serious themes, addiction and love. And her performance there garnered her nominations for both the AFI and Inside Film Awards for Best Actress again. She actually did secure the Film Critics Circle of Australia Award for Best Actress in a lead role for Candy as well.
Okay, so more critical acclaim.
Yeah, it just reinforced her ability to deliver these really emotionally complex, raw performances.
So if we look at Somersault and Candy, these are roles requiring profound emotional vulnerability, real depth. This level of rigor must have been what allowed her to then transition into those high-profile, very disciplined, international period dramas.
Absolutely. She made that pivot through some major support roles initially. In 2006, she appeared in the Ridley Scott film A Good Year as Christy Roberts.
Right, with Russell Crowe.
Yeah. And then in 2007, she played Bess Throckmorton in Elizabeth, The Golden Age with Cate Blanchett. So taking on these high-profile, high-budget period pieces really demonstrates her ability to seamlessly integrate into that established Hollywood machinery, but while maintaining her artistic integrity.
But the film that truly showcased her, critical international standing, was Jane Campion's 2009 romantic period drama, Bright Star.
Ah, yes. Bright Star. Beautiful film.
About the life of the romantic poet John Keats. Playing Fanny Braun meant she was the romantic lead. She was the anchor of this deeply sensitive, critically anticipated film from a legendary auteur director.
And the response was huge. This performance didn't just earn her nominations. It earned her nominations from key international bodies. We're talking the British Independent Film Award, BODH, for Best Actress,
Okay.
the Chicago Film Critics Association Award, the London Film Critics Circle Award for Actress of the Year, and the Satellite Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama.
Wow. That is a staggering haul of non-US but globally respected awards attention. It feels like that fundamentally answers the strategic question we kind of posed earlier. Why did she consistently balance these independent roles with the major studio films?
This is the critical insight, I think, for you, the listener. By securing that national peak first, with the AFI wins, and then the international critical peak, with the Bright Star nominations, she didn't just gain visibility. She gained, well, artistic freedom.
Ah, okay. She bought the right to choose.
Exactly. That credibility means that when she later took on those major blockbusters, she wasn't seen as, selling out. She was seen as a serious actress taking on big commercial projects because she'd already proven her chops on the really demanding stuff.
Right.
Her early choices were all about building a reputation that ensured longevity, that ensured she could navigate both worlds.
It's the difference between just being hired for a role and being actively sought out for a role, isn't it? That Bright Star level of performance means directors and producers know her capability is basically guaranteed, whether the script is, a 19th century romance or some big CGI thriller.
Precisely. That respect is banked. And that foundation of respect, that banked credibility, allowed her career to just explode into the mainstream, starting around 2011. This is really the era where she commits fully to Hollywood blockbusters, but brings that same intense focus to high-octane genre material.
Yeah, 2011 definitely looks like her big transition year into global recognition. She was cast as Lindy in Limitless, right? The adaptation of The Dark Fields.
With Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro, directed by Neil Berger.
It was a pretty complex, fast-paced, sort of mind-bending thriller that really needed a grounded lead presence, didn't it?
Absolutely. She needed to be that anchor, the one keeping the audience kind of tethered to reality as Cooper's character spirals off into these heightened states. And then that same year, the transition was complete when she took on a major protagonist role, Sweet Pea, in Zack Snyder's wildly stylized fantasy action film, Sucker Punch.
Wow, talk about a shift in performance style. I mean, going from the nuanced, reality-based pressure cooker of Limitless to the totally stylized, hyper-choreographed world of Sucker Punch that demonstrates incredible adaptability.
It really does.
And she also served the film's narrator, didn't she? Which gave her voice this central, controlling presence in the story.
That's right. And if that wasn't enough diversity for a single year, she also played Wally Winthrop in Madonna's directorial effort, W.E., focusing on the story of Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson.
Okay, so in 1 year, a grounded thriller, a fantasy action epic, and a historical royal drama. That level of professional compartmentalization is just astounding.
It really is. But importantly, she didn't just chase the spectacle. She actively sought out continuing high-level character-driven work. So in 2012, she starred in the crime comedy Seven Psychopaths as Kaya.
Great movie.
Directed by the phenomenal writer-director Martin McDonagh, working with just a killer ensemble cast, Woody Harrelson, Colin Farrell.
Yeah, McDonough's dialogue is something else.
It is. Yeah. And working with a master dialogue writer like McDonagh, again, just underlines her commitment to robust material. And this collaboration actually led to one of her biggest ensemble successes. They reunited in 2017 for 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. She played Anne Willoughby, the wife of Woody Harrelson's character, the sheriff.
Now, her screen time in 3 billboards, it was relatively contained compared to the leads, Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell.
True.
But the movie itself was a cultural landmark, a massive awards contender. Does the source material give us any insight into whether that performance was particularly impactful, or was the eventual SAG win more of a nod to her overall career weight within that really acclaimed cast?
That's a good question. It's interesting to note that while she did earn a separate AACTA International Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for the role,
Okay.
the real high point was the group honor. She earned her first Screen Actors Guild Award, a SAG Award, for outstanding performance by a cast in a motion picture.
The Ensemble Award.
Exactly. And the SAG Award is peer recognition. It's actors voting for actors. So her inclusion in that winning ensemble really confirmed her positioning as a recognized, respected member of the Hollywood acting community. It perfectly bookends her early AFI wins with the highest form of global peer acknowledgement.
That makes sense. So if the AFI wins establish her talent nationally, the SAG win kind of confirmed her authority internationally. And this mastery of dramatic nuance then allows her to jump into full-blown franchise and genre work without really missing a beat.
The contrast is definitely clear. In 2014, she enters the sci-fi action world, co-starring in the RoboCop reboot as Clara Murphy, the wife of the protagonist Alex Murphy, played by Joel Kinnaman.
Right, the reboot.
And then she played a key role in the 2017 science fiction disaster film Geostorm as Agent Sarah Wilson, working alongside Gerard Butler and Jim Sturgis.
Okay, disaster films and sci-fi reboots. They require a completely different discipline than something like Campion's Bright Star, right? It's often about reacting convincingly to things that aren't actually there, lots of green screen work, massive production scale. That transition must demand some acute professional focus.
It absolutely does, and that focus also shines through in her mystery thriller work.
Yeah.
She appeared in 2 films alongside the great Anthony Hopkins. First was Solace in 2015, where she played Agent Catherine Cowles, a complex FBI investigator alongside Colin Farrell again.
Right, Solace.
And then later, The Virtuoso in 2021, where she played the mysterious character known only as the Waitress. These roles often require high intensity but in smaller settings, confirming her reliability for these kinds of serious ensemble projects.
And finally, her mainstream visibility was really cemented by the world of streaming television. She portrayed Kathy Mueller in the first season of Amazon's globally popular Jack Ryan back in 2018, starring opposite John Krasinski.
Big show.
And crucially, she reprised that role for the 4th and final season in 2023. So, totaling 14 episodes across the series. Reprising a role years later in a major franchise like that, it demands real scheduling and professional commitment to that character over a pretty long timeline.
You do. And she's also maintained her deep Australian connections throughout all this. She starred in the miniseries Secret Bridesmaids Business in 2019, making sure she never really loses touch with her domestic industry.
Smart.
And looking ahead, it seems she's taking more creative control too, serving as an executive producer on the 2024 film Detained, where she also starred. Her professional output is just tireless, it's varied, and crucially, it seems strategically managed to cover all the bases.
Yeah.
Independent credibility, blockbuster visibility, and streaming longevity.
Checking all the boxes. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We've established her as this globally recognized, award-winning actress. Now we pivot to the equally serious, but maybe far less widely known parallel existence.
Right.
Her life as the hip-hop artist, MC Dusk. And the sources are clear. This isn't just some celebrity side project. This is a whole other career.
It is absolutely not a vanity project, and the timeline really proves it. She has apparently been rapping under the name MC Dusk since the year 2000.
Since 2000. Wow.
Yeah, think about that. Her hip-hop career started before her major film breakthrough in Somersault. She was already developing this artistic outlet when she was just 18 years old and was actively part of an Australian hip-hop group called Blades until she was about 22.
Okay, so hang on. She's winning her first AFI award. She's appearing in major Australian films like The Monkey's Mask. And at the same time, she's concurrently rehearsing and performing with a hip-hop group. That level of energy and commitment to 2 highly demanding creative disciplines is, well, it's phenomenal.
It really is. And she didn't just walk away when the big Hollywood paychecks started coming in either. Her professional validation in the music world is actually crystal clear. In 2015, she received this massive nod of respect by being chosen to support the legendary American rapper Nas on his Australian tour.
Supporting Nas. Okay, that's huge.
It's huge. Supporting an artist of Nas's stature, I mean, he's a genuine icon.
Yeah.
That's definitive proof that she's viewed as a serious musical entity within the industry, not just some celebrity dabbling in music.
Right, that's a serious cosign. But let's delve into the discography details a bit, because they seem to provide context on her style and influence within the Australian scene specifically. What does her music sound like, and who is she working with?
Well, the sources highlight some key collaborations that place her firmly within the established Australian hip-hop structure. Back in 2015, she released some tracks on SoundCloud, which were later re-released officially in 2020. One key track is called Evolve, and it featured the Australian singer-songwriter Jane Terrell. But maybe more critically, she released another track called Way Back Home, which was produced by Suffa.
Suffa. Now, for the listener who might not know, Suffa is one half of the production powerhouse behind Hilltop Hoods, who are arguably the most important and commercially successful Australian hip-hop group of all time. Like,
Right.
Legends down under.
Precisely. So having Suffa produce her track is essentially receiving the highest possible cosign you can get in the Australian hip-hop world. It signals that her flow, her lyrical themes, her overall sound was all deemed worthy of collaboration by the country's established elite.
Okay, that's serious credibility right there. And we see that focused output continued in recent years too, right?
Yeah. In 2021, she released an entire extended play, an EP, called Key of the Sun. And she had a string of singles released in the preceding 2 years as well. Tracks called MVP, Zombies, and I'll Be There For You.
So the sources confirm this deliberate, continued creative release schedule happening alongside her starring roles in things like Jack Ryan and The Virtuoso. The discipline required just to maintain that level of output across both fields is immense.
It really is. And this duality, it actually extends into her role as an activist as well. This is like the third equally serious dimension of her professional identity. Her dedication to activism and advocacy also began very early in her career, showing a commitment that runs parallel to both the acting and the music.
Right. Since 2006, she has been an ambassador for Voiceless, the Animal Protection Institute based in Australia. So that means she started advocating seriously right around the time of her Candy and Goodyear fame. She was leveraging her growing platform pretty early on, participating in a national advertising campaign for Voiceless back in 2012.
And her advocacy seems clearly tied to a really profound personal commitment. The source material notes she is a dairy-free pescetarian and a very vocal advocate for plant-based diets. But this isn't just about, making statements. She actually professionalized her belief through publication.
That's right. She became a published cookbook author. In 2019, she co-authored Peskin, a feel-good cookbook with Jacqueline King Schiller. And she is specifically listed in sources as a plant-based cookbook writer.
Yeah.
So she took her personal dietary choices, her advocacy work, and distilled them into this tangible, published product, applying basically the same professional rigor she would to, say, a film script or recording an EP.
It's this holistic approach, actress, rapper, author, activist, that really seems to be the signature of her career. It suggests that her professional life is maybe less about a hierarchy of importance and more about managing these different streams of creative passion simultaneously.
Right. And finally, just to complete the picture of her personal life that kind of grounds all this output, the source material does mention her relationship with actor Ryan Phillippe, which spanned from about 2006 to 2010, placing her in that high-profile media spotlight right during her transition to the Hollywood blockbusters. And more recently, she announced her engagement in 2019 to the mixed martial artist Adel Al-Tamimi. So these relationships provide some personal context to these extremely high-output periods of her career.
Yeah, anchors in a busy life.
So as we sort of synthesize this incredible body of work, the overarching theme about Abbie Cornish isn't just that she's good at a lot of different things. It feels like it's that she fundamentally refused to choose between them.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
She seems to have strategically engineered this professional structure that allowed her to maintain a critically acclaimed, high-visibility career in acting, while at the same time pursuing this serious, respected, decade-spanning musical career as MC Dusk, and all while anchoring her personal life to this profound advocacy work.
It's really a remarkable lesson in professional dedication and focus, isn't it? Her career is built on these two really distinct pillars of success, which we can actually track perfectly through her major awards. You've got the AFI Award for Best Actress for Somersault back in 2004, marking that national artistic peak.
Right. Yeah.
And then the Screen Actors Guild Award for the ensemble cast of 3 Billboards in 2017, confirming her status among the global acting elite.
And achieving that highest level of success across such diverse, high-demand spheres, I mean, period drama acting, action narration, hip-hop production, it raises a really relevant question, I think, for you, the listener. If Abbie Cornish can manage this profound level of professional compartmentalization, balancing the information, the focus, the discipline required for, say, a Madonna film set and a recording session with Safa from Hilltop Hoods, what does that tell you about managing your own professional life? It kind of suggests that deep commitment to multiple passions can, maybe counterintuitively, enrich and stabilize the entire career structure.
Indeed. And if we connect this back to the broader picture of her personal commitment, specifically that long-term advocacy, her dairy-free pescetarian diet, her role as a Voiceless ambassador since way back in 2006, and then co-authoring the Peskin cookbook, we really see that her public life is deeply anchored in these private, enduring beliefs.
And that anchors us right back to her roots, which is where we started this whole deep dive.
Absolutely. So here's maybe a final provocative thought for you to explore on your own, something that connects all these threads. Her earliest experiences, remember, involved growing up on that 70-hectare working farm in New South Wales.
Right.
Consider how intimately connected that initial first-hand experience with agriculture, with animal life, with practical resource management. How that might influence and perhaps validate her long-term decade-spanning advocacy for animal protection and plant-based diets.
Ah, interesting connection.
It provides maybe a unique, grounded perspective that's often missing from celebrity advocacy. It suggests a knowledge base rooted in actual experience, which in turn makes her commitment, whether it's to MC Dusk's thematic explorations or her acting choices, feel even more profound, more integrated.
A truly fascinating perspective on how that early environment can really shape a lifetime of diverse, high-level professional output. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the dual career of Abbie Cornish and MC Dusk.